Deborah the Judge. The land of Israel was weary and broken. After the days of Joshua and the elders who outlived him, the people drifted away from the commands of the Lord. They sought the idols of the nations, bowing to wooden images and carved stones that could not see or hear. With every act of disobedience, their strength faded, and their enemies grew bold. The northern oppressor, Jabin, king of Canaan, held Israel under cruel domination, his commander Sisera boasting with iron chariots that seemed unstoppable. For 20 long years, the cries of Israel rose like smoke into the heavens, begging for deliverance. It was in this dark time that Deborah arose. She was unlike any other woman of her generation. A prophetess and a judge, she carried wisdom that drew the people to her. Beneath the palm of Deborah, between Ramah and Bethel in the hill country of Ephraim, she settled disputes and gave counsel to men and women alike. Her words were not her own, for the Spirit of the Lord guided her, and the people recognized the authority of God upon her life. While fear swept through the land, Deborah was unshaken. Her eyes did not dwell on the power of Canaan's chariots, but on the faithfulness of the God who had led Israel through the wilderness. She listened for his voice, and when he spoke, she obeyed without hesitation. One day, Deborah summoned Barak, son of Abinoam from Kadesh in Naphtali. When he stood before her, she delivered the message of the Lord with firmness and clarity. The Lord, the God of Israel, commands you, go, take with you 10,000 men of Naphtali and Zebulun, and lead them up to Mount Tabor. I will lead Sisera, the commander of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his troops, to the Kishon River, and give him into your hands. Barak's heart trembled at the weight of her words. He had heard the stories of Egypt, of Jericho, of the victories that only God could win, but facing Sisera seemed impossible. His voice revealed both respect and fear as he replied, "If you go with me, I will go. But if you do not go with me, I will not go." Deborah's gaze was steady. She understood his hesitation, yet she also knew that the honor of victory belonged to the Lord alone. "Certainly I will go with you," she said, "but because of the course you are taking, the honor will not be yours. The Lord will deliver Sisera into the hands of a woman." With those words, destiny unfolded. Barak gathered 10,000 men, and Deborah went with him. News spread quickly, and Sisera assembled his entire force, 900 iron chariots and all his warriors, at the Kishon River. The earth trembled beneath their march, and the people of Israel braced themselves for battle. On the day of the conflict, Deborah spoke again with the fire of prophecy. She looked to Barak and cried out, "Go! This is the day the Lord has given Sisera into your hands. Has not the Lord gone ahead of you?" Her words pierced through fear, igniting courage in the hearts of the soldiers. Barak descended Mount Tabor with his 10,000 men, and the clash began. The Lord himself fought for Israel. A sudden storm swept over the land, rain pouring down in torrents. The Kishon River swelled with raging waters, turning the battlefield into a trap. The iron chariots of Sisera, once symbols of unstoppable power, became useless in the mud. Panic spread through the enemy's ranks, and confusion shattered their order. Israel surged forward with relentless force. The Canaanite soldiers fell by the sword until not one man was left. Sisera, seeing his army destroyed, abandoned his chariot and fled on foot. His pride, his confidence, his very life now hung by a fragile thread. Exhausted and desperate, Sisera stumbled into the camp of Jael, the wife of Heber the Canaanite. Her people were at peace with Jabin, so Sisera believed he had found refuge. Jael welcomed him into her tent with calm composure, covering him with a blanket as he trembled. He begged for water, but she gave him milk, soothing him further into false security. "Stand in the doorway of the tent," he commanded, "and if anyone comes and asks if someone is here, say no." His eyelids grew heavy, his body sinking into rest, his mind finally releasing the terror of defeat. But Jael's heart was aligned with the God of Israel. As Sisera slept, she took a tent peg and a hammer in her hands. With steady determination, she drove the peg through his temple into the ground, and Sisera died where he lay. The oppressor who had tormented Israel for 20 years fell at the hand of a woman, just as Deborah had foretold. Barak arrived in pursuit and found Jael standing at the entrance of her tent. She beckoned him inside and said, "Come, I will show you the man you are looking for." And there lay Sisera, lifeless, the symbol of Canaan's strength, shattered by the courage of a single woman. That day marked the turning point in Israel's struggle. God subdued Jabin, king of Canaan, before the Israelites, and the hand of Israel pressed harder and harder until they destroyed him completely. Peace returned to the land, not by the might of armies alone, but by the obedience of those who trusted the word of the Lord. In the days that followed, Deborah and Barak lifted their voices in a song of victory. Their hymn became a testimony of God's deliverance, celebrating his power and the courage of his people. "Hear this, you kings! Listen, you rulers! I, even I, will sing to the Lord. I will praise the Lord, the God of Israel, in song." The song painted vivid pictures of the battle, describing the earth trembling, the heavens pouring rain, and the stars fighting from their courses. It honored the tribes who came willingly to the fight and rebuked those who stayed behind in comfort. It exalted Jael as the most blessed of women, for she struck down the enemy when others hesitated. Through this song, Israel remembered that victory belongs to the Lord, not to human strength. It reminded them that when the people are willing, when leaders rise with courage, God's purposes are fulfilled in astonishing ways. For 40 years, Israel enjoyed peace under Deborah's leadership. Her wisdom, her courage, and her unwavering faith marked her as a rare and radiant figure in the history of God's people. She stood as a mother in Israel, guiding with compassion and authority, embodying the truth that God can raise anyone to lead when his people cry out in need. Deborah's story transcends the battlefield. It speaks of faith that rises above fear, of obedience that shapes destiny, and of the unexpected instruments God chooses to accomplish his will. A prophetess, a judge, a leader, and a woman who listened to the voice of God. She stands as a timeless example of what it means to walk boldly in his calling. Generations later, her song still echoes. It reminds us that no oppression lasts forever, that God hears the cries of his people, and that deliverance comes when hearts turn back to him. The rain that fell on the day of battle was more than a storm. It was heaven's declaration that the Lord fights for his people. Deborah's legacy calls out even now. It urges every believer to trust the promises of God, to rise with courage when others tremble, and to believe that no enemy, no matter how strong, can withstand the hand of the Almighty. Her life proclaims that when God speaks, obedience will always lead to victory, and his purposes will never fail. The palm of Deborah stands in memory, a symbol of wisdom and justice. The story of her leadership shines as light in a time of shadows, proving that God's choice is not bound by human expectations. And her voice, captured in song, continues to declare across the ages, "So may all your enemies perish, Lord, but may all who love you be like the sun when it rises in its strength."